The following preview has been rated good, bad, and weird by the Good, the Bad, and the Weird podcast. Please check out the full episode when it releases on Sunday. So, Chris.
Yeah?
A Yakuza, a punk, and a potential man from the future with a biomechanical arm stumble upon an abandoned city. Burst City.
It is Burst City. And while you, in one sentence, attempted to sum up the plot of this movie, I'd argue that there is no plot.
Oh, man. I'm glad I picked this episode over, like, the 2 or 3 other musicals I was thinking about. Mainly because just how off the walls this movie is. And
yeah.
I also love that when we were planning this episode...
Mm-hmm.
You asked me, can you actually make a full episode with this movie?
Yeah. Okay, the reason I asked that is because while Nicho does a great job in the episode trying to break down and explain the plot of this movie, there is no fucking plot to this movie. I've watched this fucker 3.5 times now, and that is all within 1 week because I was looking for the plot. I was digging deep for the plot. I was looking for any semblance of connection, of meaning behind it. Because I love the punk aspects in this. The music is good. It is 80s. It is Japanese. It is that early punk, which has kind of evolved into dad rock nowadays. So, like, it's very nostalgic. I love it. It sounds great. The, like, grainy quality, the shaky camera looks fantastic. However, this was advertised to me as a movie.
As a musical.
As a musical movie. A 2-hour-long musical movie. And the only plot I found was a very small side story about a poor, sad woman who gets strangled to death. And then her weird lover pimp wiggles in the background while trying to hug her.
Would you equate this as this is your Inception?
A little bit, yeah. Because where I was willing to let go of the plot for Inception because I knew what was coming, and I also didn't fucking care what the ending of Inception was because that's bullshit and I get to make up my own ending. This one, if this had been just a bunch of music videos, this would have been dope. If this had been like, I don't know, 8 music videos that all like played together, you could watch them together as a semblance of a movie or like a fan thing that someone had put all this together, I'd have been like, wow, that's so cool. They almost all kind of go together. But instead, you sit for 2 hours feeling like you're on a bit of an acid trip, just kind of having your brain come out of your ear at certain parts. And then at different parts, you're like, wait a minute, does the side of the police say battle police on the car? It sure does. Why? Does that man have a lobster claw for a hand? Yeah, he does. Why? You don't know. Don't ask questions.
Here I am, just living in the moment, loving the chaos.
It is chaos. And that's part of the reason why it got the Holy Trinity, not just from you, who picked it and loved it originally, but also from me. Because, yeah, it is chaos. And it's fun chaos. That's the whole reason I managed to get through it 3 times this week. Was because the first time I watched it, I honestly had no idea what was happening, but I was there for the jive. The second time I watched it, I was really interested in, like, looking in for the different subcategories of punk that people were saying that they pulled from or were inspired from in this movie, the different music bits that were going on, the different bands that were in this, and the different members of the bands, and trying to find them in, like, the different roles, and in appreciating the, like, just bonkers sets and costumes that were happening. And then the third time I spent it going, the fuck am I watching? The hell is going on? So yes, a movie-wise, this is bad, but otherwise, this is good and weird.
Yeah, no, I absolutely just... I definitely went on this movie with a deeper lens than I normally would have for something like this.
I don't think it was ever meant to be deep dived like this.
No.
I think you're just supposed to enjoy the ride.
No, and it makes me want to go back and watch Ishii's more recent movie, Punk Samurai Slashdown, because I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I think I wasn't in the right mindset when I was watching it. Just
sure.
This movie is... There's something special about it because, one, it is influential in what would become the underground Japanese cyberpunk scene, and 2, it's one of my bread and butter genres that I really love. But also, it has inklings to it.
It
and
does.
I think that's where what I find fascinating in movies where it's not a good movie.
No.
It's not a complete movie, but it had the start to something that never saw its full potential. And I think that's specifically about Burst City, something about Burst City that I absolutely enjoy.
No, I completely agree. Like, if you like the punk genre, like, there is so many different places that you can see where, like, oh, that could totally evolve into this, or this scene right here, this specific, like, setup and styling looks so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's parts with the motorcycle bits that just, like, really stand out. There's some parts with the car racing that, or, like, especially the car crash and how he, like, forces himself to get up and walk away from it to look cool. Like, all of that could definitely lead off into some really cool directions.
Yeah.
But this movie does nothing with any of them. So it's easy to see where people who had the ability to make films could look at this and be like, yeah, I'm gonna see some of this and bring it into my own style.
Well, and it's definitely easy to see it get overlooked by movies in similar genres, such as Tetsuo the Iron Man or Akira, that actually brought that genre more to the forefront.
I agree. And I also think that part of the reason of that is part of the reason I like this movie. Mm-hmm. This movie doesn't try to define punk.
No.
In fact, it purposefully goes out of its way to undefine punk.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's a middle finger to the industry as it is. So in a way, the movie isn't trying to find anything. It's a product of punk itself.
Yes, and that's why I think I love it in its own way. Whereas, like, Akira is a good example of, like, they sat down and defined what they wanted their world to look like, which then defined the type of punk that they were going for, and, like, that changed the sound of the movie, that changed the music, the visuals, the speed and the pacing and the camera work. Whereas this one, like, part of the way through, it's a random documentary for no reason. Like, it's so over the top and all over the place, but that in itself feels like the birth of punk. Like, everyone who was working on this film had their own style that they were going with. They were all parts of punk bands, and a lot of them are, like, they're the music for this movie too, which is good, and it's fun to listen to, even if I honestly have no idea what's going on. Like, because there's just, and we've talked about this with horror movies before too, if there is a passion there, even if you don't understand the passion, you can appreciate it. Yeah. And so, like, while I love punk, I don't understand this movie, but I can see the passion and I enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see that too. Not with this movie specific. Well, I can see it with this movie, but in regards to, like, something like Passion of the Christ, I can see where they were going for it. Is it a good movie? No. Not really, in my opinion. No, it's not. But it has some good moments to it.
And, like, you can tell that everyone working on it was really passionate about it. Haha, name. But, like, yes, like, there's a ton of movies in every genre where at least someone and, like, the whole crew was like, we are behind this 110%. We're going to be putting our own effort in. We're going to be putting our own spin on it. We're not just here for a paycheck. Or we're not just here to try and figure out something that we're not really into outside of this movie. Yeah. This is a great example of just, like, a bunch of friends, a bunch of guys all getting together to put what they love together into one project. Yep. Did the project come out well? No. It's a bit of a half-baked cake. It very much feels like, oops, I added salt instead of sugar. But you tried, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, so, but anywho, this has been the Good, the Bad, and the Weird previews.
Check out the full episode.
Peace.